Adjustable rate mortgages can have a bitter ending if you don't ask some questions before you sign the docs. Hi, everybody. My name is Chris. I'm with homes719.com. And today I'm just doing a video based on a blog post I did a few days ago because adjustable rate mortgages are back. And I suspect most people don't know anything about them because I didn't when I got mine way back in 2006 or so. So I thought I'd do a quick video just supporting the blog post that I did so you guys can, you know, watch this or read that, whichever way you want to do it. And, learn some things about adjustable rate mortgages so you don't get bit in the back end. All adjustable rate mortgages are not created equal. All right. But before I get into that, what is an adjustable rate mortgage? Well, quite simply, it is a mortgage that has an adjustable interest rate. So you're probably more familiar with a fixed interest rate loan where you might have a 30-year loan at say 4%, or maybe your friends do, your mom and dad, whoever it might be. And for 30 years, that interest rate will remain at whatever the rate was when they sign the documents, unless they do a refinance, okay? An adjustable rate mortgage does not do that. It adjusts, just like the title says it does. And there's some key questions you need to ask your mortgage loan originator or broker about an adjustable rate mortgage before you sign up for one, because it can get very ugly very quick. And it did for many back in 2009, 8, 9, and 10, when these adjustable rate mortgages adjusted and not in a favorable way. So let me give you guys some background here on the adjustable rate mortgage, some of the terms that you need to ask your mortgage loan originator and stuff like that. So, what causes an adjustable rate mortgage to adjust at all, right? What is it? Just like somebody rolling the dice and pulling on it and pulling a number out of the hat? And the answer to that is a little yes and a little no. So it's typically based on two things: an index and a margin. The margin is controlled by the bank. The index is controlled by the people who back the mortgage. So they come up with an index number, the bank adds on the margin, and that's your interest rate, okay? So depending on, when that's how it's determined when you start, and that's how it's determined every year, potentially. Keyword, potentially. So they're going to look at that and determine what your interest rate is. Okay, so the way it can adjust, or the things you need to worry about and ask your mortgage loan originator about, are a couple things. So adjustment frequency: how often can it adjust? And you need to see this in your mortgage documents. Make sure it's in there verbatim so that you have a document signed by them and by you stating how often you're willing to have it adjust. Back in the 2000s, some of them adjusted weekly. So think about this for a minute. Every week, your interest rate on your mortgage changed, and therefore every month your payment changed. And if it was going up, it was going up very quickly. And it did it. I'm not making this up. It did it to my neighbors back in Michigan. So you got to be cautious of that. You need to know how often can it adjust, and it will be in the mortgage documents. The next thing is interest rate cap. How high can it adjust up to? Right? That's another term that should be in the mortgage document. They can tell you exactly how high it will go or could go, and also how much it can change per whenever. So for an example, my ARM that I had, adjustable rate mortgage that I had back then, mine was a very good ARM. So mine would adjust once per year and could adjust no more than, I think, a quarter or a 0.5%, period. That's as far as it could go per year. Some of the bad ones could adjust, like I said, weekly, and could adjust infinitely and up as far as it wanted to go. So you got to make sure that both your adjustment frequency and your interest rate cap are defined in your mortgage document so that you are confident that you kind of understand what the risks are, because you don't want your mortgage payment going doubling in 6 months. And that happened in the 2000s. So, make sure you understand what that is, so you understand the risk. Now, here's the fun part, right? If none of that is in the documents, none of that, and you are dealing with a mortgage company and or broker that might be, well, they're salespeople after all. Let's just say that, and they're trying to sell you a mortgage. They are trying to sell you a mortgage. They are trained very, very well, to some degree, on how to make big things seem completely insignificant, right? So if these things are in that mortgage document and you go and you ask your mortgage loan originator, so what happens? What happens if it goes up, doubles, the interest rate doubles? It was 4, now it's 8, or it was 8, now it's 16. What am I going to do? Some mortgage loan originators might say, oh, it's no problem. You just call me back and we'll refinance it. Easy. Gotcha. We'll refinance, we'll get it back down. Not so fast. All right. The reason interest rates go up, and the reason your interest rate would go up on an adjustable rate mortgage, is because of the market conditions, meaning that the standard interest rate is higher than yours. So you're probably not going to want to refinance into the new interest rate, because it's going to be higher than yours is anyway. And if you try to refinance, you have to requalify, and your mortgage payment is going to be up higher than it normally is, which is probably not what you're going to want, right? And to make matters worse, when interest rates climb, there's a typically a side effect, because buyers tend to not buy during that period because they want the cheaper interest rate, just like you. So what does that do? That means that the housing market typically starts to soften, housing prices go down, your house appraises for less than maybe you owe, like it did back in the 2000s. And guess what? You can't qualify for a new mortgage because you owe more than the house is now worth, and you can't afford the new payment. So guess what, Mr. Homeowner? You don't get to refinance. You get to keep the mortgage you got that you can't afford. That's not an option. Refinancing out of an ARM is not an option. Refinancing into maybe a fixed rate, because it happened to adjust down, which I'll get into in a moment, but that might work. But refinancing out of an adjustable rate mortgage because it went up is very unlikely, unless you do it very quickly. And even then, maybe not, right? So you don't want that situation, right? And if you've asked the questions and you've confirmed that the adjustment frequency, the interest cap rate, rate cap is in there, then you know what your risks are. You know that it's going to potentially go up 0.5% a year, and you can do the math real quick and figure out what your new payment's going to be if it does that, right? And then the next year and the next year. But that gives you years to plan, right? And years where your mortgage payment increases just incrementally, in a very controlled manner, something that you can manage and it doesn't get wacky on you. All right. So make sure you ask those questions. There's also another term that comes up from time to time called payment cap, like how high, what is your max payment number? So you could also ask them about that. I haven't seen that too much, but I'm sure it's out there somewhere, which effectively stops your monthly payment from getting to an excessive number. What else can I tell you guys? Let's see. I think I went through that stuff. ARMs, they're good for some things. They really are. I'm not totally bashing them. Please don't take that as that's what this video is all about, because I'm not. They are a tool that you need to understand how to use it, right? ARMs are nice because they have a lower initial interest rate. So like right now, this is November of 2020. The fixed rate mortgage rates are around 7. The adjustable rate mortgages are around 5. Think about that for a minute. That's a huge savings, huge. And you might even be able to buy that rate down a little bit if you wanted to. So the mortgage loan originator say, well, we would just put you in an ARM. for three years, you go through that, and then we'll just refinance on the back end. Maybe, maybe not. I couldn't when mine hit. I couldn't refinance it. Nope, couldn't happen. Owed less than the house was worth. I was in a pickle. All right, I'll get into that maybe here in a minute, how my situation ended, but it didn't end that well for everybody, let me tell you. Potential for future lower payments, right? If the interest rate goes down, your interest rate goes down and your payments go down with it, which is what happened to me. It was great. But that didn't happen to everybody. So a lot of theirs went up. Different timing. I'm not saying exact timing, right? So there's when the interest rates climb, mine climbed too, but mine climbed in a controlled manner. My neighbors did not go up in a controlled manner, and they lost their house in foreclosure. So you need to be aware of that. There's some flexibility, and ARMs can be suitable for buyers who do not intend to stay in the home for a long period of time. Do not believe that crap, okay? Because here's why. Your life will change in the next 3 to 5 years. I promise you it will. And when the market goes negative, market being the overall economy goes negative or goes into recession or goes down, a lot of things change. Jobs change, spouses change, cars change, all these things change, right? So simply thinking that, oh, I'm just going to have this for 3 years and then I'm just going to refi out. Do not bet on that. That is not something you can control. I promise you it's not. You think you can, but you can't. So I wouldn't, bet your entire financial future on that statement. You do qualify for more money because the interest rate's lower. Think about that. You can buy a nicer house. So that's kind of cool. Cons, like I've kind of alluded to already, uncertainty, man. You don't know you're potentially completely out of control of what happens to your mortgage payment, right? So if you've got the answers to the questions I already pointed out to you, you're in a much better position, but it can still adjust, right? And then, potential for higher costs over time. If it just keeps adjusting and adjusting and adjusting and adjusting, at some point you've got to have an exit strategy that you can implement, right? And I'm going to get into a couple of those here in a second, but it's none of those are guaranteed. Sorry, they're not. There's a reason adjustable rate mortgages they're a tool for the mortgage loan businesses to sell you a mortgage because they need to make money too. And it may not be in your best interest. I hate to tell you. So we got that complexity of the ARM. Yeah, ARMs have a lot of weird terms like I previously mentioned, right? So you're going to need to make sure you dig into that. Make sure you ask a lot of good questions so that you can make the best financial decision for you and your family. So you don't create what I like to call a time bomb, right? And it gets to a certain point, your mortgage starts changing, and now you are not in control of your financial future, right? So, with that, if you get to the point where the ARM does start adjusting in a non-favorable way, you have very little exit strategies, right? Yeah, I've already mentioned it's probably can't refinance it. So that means you're gonna deal with the payment that's going up. You need to potentially contact a realtor and try to do a short sale, right? Where you work with the realtor and the bank to allow the bank to allow you to sell the property for less than you owe, and sell it and satisfy the loan. But that dings your credit. Does it ding it as bad as a foreclosure? No. Foreclosure is much worse, but it's not a good situation, right? Bankruptcy and things like that do affect some of these things, and it's quite complex on how you can, maybe minimize the damage, but it's still going to be damage. So if you use an ARM, an adjustable rate mortgage, to buy your house, make sure you ask those questions that I outlined above. What is the adjustment frequency? What is the cap on the adjustment? And maybe even what is the payment cap, so that you have those and make sure they're in your mortgage document so that you know within some reasonable bounds of what your future looks like for your home and your mortgage payment, right? You don't want to get caught. So, with that, learn more. ask more questions, maybe watch some other videos too, and see, if the adjustable rate mortgage is good for you. And if you want to talk to some great lenders, reach out to us. I got a couple of great local lenders. I'd love to talk to you. I do not get any money for that. It is absolutely illegal for them to pay me to do that. So I am referring them solely on how awesome they are with working with other people, other clients of mine. So, reach out to homesin719.com and we'll be happy to connect you, and reach out to me if you have any questions. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye.